My name's Chris Vincent. I am the owner and operator of R2R Electric. We are here checking out some super rare fuzz pedals that I have in the shop. I repaired them for a collector named John, who lives in the Phoenix area, and he graciously let me take these home with me, and I'm gonna measure them out and hopefully reproduce them in the future. Back behind me, we have Jarrod Keith, and he's gonna be helping us with audio. First pedal up today is it's a Rotosound Fuzz Box. It's from 1968. It's a Mark II tone bender variant. It's built with OC 81 transistors and sounds like this. I really love the fact that it's not as bassy as some of the other ones, so it really kind of cuts bass and just gets really gnarly. It's a super cool sounding pedal. All right, so next up is a 1970 Park fuzz sound, and Park was an offshoot of Marshall amplifiers. These were made by Sola Sound, and it's a Mark III style tone bender. This variant is just a tad bit different than the stock, just to differentiate it for the Marshall production or Park production. So we swapped out into, this is a 1960s baritone Teicso something or other. It's a Japanese-made baritone guitar, and it's pretty rad. That thing is really gnarly. It's a lot burlier than the Mark II as far as like gain. It's got a ton more gain. It gets a lot brighter and kind of woolier with the tone control, which the other ones don't have. So that's pretty cool about these guys, is that you can kind of control the tone, and it's really aggressively bright or really aggressively full sounding, which is kind of fun. I felt like the baritone on this one would really shine with the single coils, and being tuned down, it just sounds bigger. And so because this one's a little bit quieter, like its maximum output isn't quite as loud as Unity or like the bypass signal, it might be better to just, do everything you can to make it sound bigger and fuller. Up next, we changed out guitars again. This is a 1960s Silvertone Jupiter. It's got, again, single coil pickups, which I think work really well with this pedal in particular, which is actually super rare. This is, not sure if it's a prototype or what the deal is with it, but it is it's a Zonk II, which was John Hornby Skew's pedal. And it was the second version of the Zonk machine, and it was actually a silicon transistor fuzz pedal that was not super popular. It didn't sound great. So this particular one is a Zonk II enclosure with a Mark II tone bender circuit in it. So I've never seen another one like it. It could be a prototype that they just ended up never going with. But this is a really rare pedal that I'm not sure will ever see again in this format. It's a really interesting one. So we'll have to see how it sounds with this guitar. That thing's noisy. I love it. That's yeah, this is a semi-hollow body guitar, so, or maybe even a full hollow body guitar inside, so it really feeds back like hell with a lot of fuzz, so that was fun. So that's pretty typical of a Mark II tone bender. They're a little bit less bassy than some of the other fuzz pedals, so it really helps most guitars cut through a mix a little bit better. It's a fuzz and gets nice and chunky and fat and loses a lot of the, I don't want to say loses, but there's not a lot of note definition between the notes. But when you really like catch one and it sticks out, it has the right kind of like quack that you're looking for out of an old fuzz pedal. This next one is really cool. It's a 1966 Selmer Buzz-Tone. It's a really rare fuzz made by a company called Selmer, which was a British company in the 1960s, made amplifiers and guitar effects. You rarely saw them outside of the UK at that point in time. And they were really low production numbers with the pedals, so not many of these existed. And this is one of, I believe, 6 pedals that's known to exist on the planet. And one of those 6 is actually a rebuild in an original enclosure, so this is really one of 5 all original units. So it was really cool to get this guy back up and running again, and I can't wait to try to make more of them myself. Let's see what we can do. All right. I like this one a lot. This might be my favorite of the whole bunch. Not because it's rare, but just because it sounds so good and it's so loud. Like, all the other pedals sound great, but one thing about a lot of old fuzz pedals is they barely get back up to the level of the bypass signal of the guitar. Like, for whatever reason, they built them to be very low output, or I think they were trying to match the output of the guitar volumes, and it always, you go to step on them and it just kind of feels like, you're going to punch it and you just kind of drop a little bit. This one does not do that. It just, man, it's got a lot of volume that comes out of it, which is fucking awesome. All right, so this is actually our last one up. This is a Marshall Supa Fuzz. There's actually 3 kind of generations of this. 2 of them are similar, and then this is the very, very early one. So it's been kind of designated as a Mark I Marshall Supa Fuzz. And the circuit is completely different than the later 2 Mark II Supa Fuzzes. So this is based on a Mark I tone bender, which is an incredibly rare pedal. They were, again, handmade for a very short period of time in the UK by a company called Rotosound, which really kind of originated the tone benders. And so this is a Mark I, and it's modified to have a filter control instead of an attack control. So it's just a slight modification of a Mark I tone bender, which I believe there's probably only like 3 of those known to exist in the world. So this is very close to one of the most rare fuzz pedals that was ever produced. So it's very cool to get some time with it and hear what it sounds like, and what these very limited resource kind of pedals actually sound like. We hear all the copies and stuff like that, and the guy who made this is actually still making them over in the UK. He's getting up there in years, but it's really cool to see his early work. Let's go. Shit, yeah, that thing's rad. It has this really distinct thing that Mark I's do. It's called bloom, is what it's kind of been known as, and that's where the note, like, the attack of it really sags, and you kind of hear that in the first notes and then those last notes that I was playing, where you hit it and it almost feels like it drops out and then comes in, and then rolling back the guitar volume by just a smidge will kind of bring the presence right back, and it's really present, and like the attack of the note is right on top again. and not a heck of a lot of other fuzz pedals do it quite like these ones do. And it's really interesting. Like there's a few times I hit it and the note almost disappears and then comes in, which I've not been able to replicate yet. And that's just, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something that I've never heard another pedal do, and that's pretty cool. So I'm just changing out from humbuckers on that Les Paul to single coils on a Telecaster. These Mark I style fuzzes are really interactive as far as like how they work with different guitar pickups. So like as that one does that bloom with humbuckers, it should be a lot more present with the Telecaster pickup. So we're gonna check that out and see. Does sound different. It's a lot more present for sure. It still blooms though, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, that was cool.